I think the solution is trained journalists who work with an ethical code that has to do with seeking the truth and accuracy and fairness and a wide range of sources and points of view, and knowing what kinds of questions to ask and knowing where to get the information that is needed. So I think the profession of journalism is a part of the solution. And you know, listen, I think being honest about when we make mistakes and being completely transparent is part of the solution. I think being very clear about corrections and clarifications and updates and changes to stories is an act of trust with your audiences and with the public. So CNN does all of those things. The news organizations represented on this stage and more do all of those things. You know, what makes CNN unique, and I understand I think I understand what's laying underneath that question of CNN as part of the problem or the solution. I do see sometimes in my inbox or my Twitter feeds or anywhere else in all caps those moments where audiences or the public thinks that CNN is a part of the problem and not the solution. And frankly, I welcome that dialogue as long as it's threat-free, troll-free, and not full of lies. I think that's another good dialogue to have. On the cable news spectrum, when people think of CNN, that's our DNA, that's our heritage, right? You think of CNN, the network, a lot of people think of CNN TV first. CNN has CNN US, CNN International, CNN Digital on just about every screen and feed that you can be on. So CNN is truly ubiquitous in a way that many other news organizations are not. On the cable news spectrum, we try, when you think about that competitive set, which is a limited lens by which to view CNN, but it's an understandable one, and a lot of people view CNN through that lens, we try very hard to have a big tent, to have multiple points of view. So a lot of the complaints that we see about CNN being a part of the problem have to do with things like too many talking heads arguing with each other on air, right? I would argue, and sometimes it goes on a little long, and sometimes it gets a little unproductive. But I would argue that at a time like this, when there is a lack of trust, when people have fled to their corners and their filter bubbles, when people feel both more connected and more disconnected than they've ever felt, that it's really important to try to get these differing points of view. And if people argue and debate sometimes, well, that's a good thing. And sometimes we got to cut it a little shorter than maybe we do. But seriously, I just think that is something that is very important. And that I'm speaking largely about kind of the cable news landscape. Digitally, the issue is our pieces of content get atomized and pulled off. So you might see only one clip from air, or one story, or one op-ed in your feed that reinforces what you already believe, because that's how the algorithm works. And that's a problem. That is part of the problem that I think is causing this division and this trust and some of the polarization we're seeing.